It is that time of year again when everyone is posting their videos on how to glow up in 2025, how to improve your life this year, all that stuff, which I absolutely love. And it kind of got me thinking about how many things I've done in 2024 that's really, really improved my life. And I wanted to share that with you guys because I don't think that a lot of these things are super conventional or things that people think of, but it literally all of them really transformed my life in 2024. And I hope that you can take some of these ideas and apply them into your 2025, and it could really make a big difference. So here we go. The first thing that I did in 2024 that changed my life was I changed my meal planning schedule. So I used to always meal plan like on Saturday and Sunday and maybe get groceries Sunday or Monday and then kind of be like cooking all week during the work week. And then probably like around like Friday or Saturday, I was super burnt out of everything. And so we kept kind of like eating out or just kind of scrounging around on those days. And it was just all really, really stressful for me because I literally hate making dinner on work days, right? I get off at like 5 or 5:30 and my kids go to bed at about 6:45 or 7. And so basically making dinner takes up the entire evening. It's like I make dinner, the kids eat, we do bath and bedtime, and then the day's over. And I really didn't like the limited amount of time that I was spending with my kids. And then on top of that, just making dinner, it was just stressing me out. So I decided to switch up my schedule. Instead of planning like how I said before, I started planning on like Wednesday or Thursday and then getting groceries delivered. That's another thing I did is I started getting groceries delivered, but getting them delivered on Friday or Saturday. And what this really enabled me to do, and my husband was also really on board with this, which helped, but we were able to start dinner like on Friday nights through Sunday nights. We are always making dinner, or we started meal prepping as well. And so by being able to make dinner those 3 nights and then maybe doing 1 or 2 meal preps as well, we were basically cooking for our entire work week. So this actually probably deserves its own video at some point, but we started by really just finding recipes that we liked the leftovers of, because like I'm really picky about what I can eat leftover. And so we started just experimenting with foods that we felt like we could eat that would still taste good reheated, or even better, foods that you just kind of eat cold. And then we started implementing this, and some weekends we actually ended up spending several hours meal prepping, and then other weekends we just by simply cooking Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, we had enough leftovers for Monday and Tuesday. Maybe we'd cook Wednesday, and then we still usually do get takeout on Thursday, just because like Thursdays I'm always just kind of burnt out by Thursdays. I don't know. So anyway, by changing that meal planning and grocery delivery and then the days that we actually cook, it was just a lot easier because I just find it a little bit less stressful to be cleaning up on the weekends because you can kind of go at your own pace. And that just really made a big difference. So what I really worked on that through all of 2024. It started, like I said, by finding those recipes that we really liked, that we like to reheat, that were easy to make, that were quick, and then kind of transitioning from cooking on work nights to then just cooking on the weekends. I said that weird. Okay, great. I just double checked that we're recording. Okay, so second thing that I did was that I started practicing focusing. And I had done a whole video about focusing actually, but that was something that I just really wanted to focus on for 2024, was just like, I really felt like my brain was just all over the place all the time, and there was a lot of things distracting me, a lot of things going on at all times, and I really wanted to practice focusing. And like I said, I did a whole video on this, but I basically transformed my work life so that when I'm at work, I'm really focused on work and working on like not being distracted by everything else that's going on and just doing kind of one thing at a time. And by doing that, I really lowered my stress levels. And part of that too, in 2024, I got re-diagnosed with ADHD. I had gotten diagnosed like 7 years ago or so, 7 or 8 years ago. And I've just basically been living with it, and in true ADHD form, blaming myself for it and just kind of thinking that I was just undisciplined and a lot of other things that go into that. But I actually got re-diagnosed once again in true ADHD fashion because I kept not believing it. I actually had 3 different doctors that I went to who diagnosed me with ADHD. And so I started to explore medication, which really, really showed me like, oh my gosh, like, is this how people really live? Like, it just made a really big difference. And while I have not landed on a medication that I can take long term because some of the side effects just haven't really been working with me, it was really comforting to have that diagnosis. And then I can start tackling my focus issues or other issues kind of from that standpoint, because having a diagnosis kind of gave me the ability to find solutions that would actually work. So that was another thing that I did. One other thing that I wanted to just kind of mention before I move on to the next one is that this is like in a whole year. And I think this kind of relates to the focus topic, which is why I wanted to mention it here. And I think that we can sometimes watch these videos or maybe just be scrolling on our social media or whatever, and we get so many things that we want to do, and we want to do all of them all at once. Or maybe we'll start like beating ourselves up because we haven't done XYZ thing that we've wanted to do for so long, or we've been struggling with the same issue for a long period of time. And one thing that I really think falls into that focus category for me for 2024 is like, I tried to stop doing everything all the time, right? Like these specific things that I'm bringing up, I worked on these all year. This wasn't like one day I woke up and I started focusing. Like, that didn't happen. One day I woke up and I started meal planning on Thursdays and started cooking all weekend. And, like, it just doesn't really work like that. And so I think that's part of the focus is like, instead of trying to do everything, I kind of focused on a couple things that were really affecting my life and experimenting and iterating on improving those things instead of trying to do everything all the time. So that kind of falls into the focus category, but then also wanted to set the tone for the rest of the video that this was something these things are things that I've been working on for the entire year. And so that's one thing to just really keep in mind when you're watching these like glow up videos and everything, is this didn't happen overnight. There were ups and downs. There were good days and bad days. And like overall, it's just kind of like iterating and improving in little bits on these subjects. So now that we talked about that and covered that, my next thing that I did this past year was I read 2 books that I really, really enjoyed that really changed my life. And the first one is Radical Acceptance. And I am, oh my gosh, who's it by? I will just put who it's by after in the editing process. And then along those same lines, I also forgot the author of my second book, which is Emotion Code, was the other book that I read this year that made a big difference. So with these 2 books, I really feel like it focuses on the current state and like meets you where you're at really, really well. Focusing first on Radical Acceptance, she really talks about how our fear of feelings holds us back in so many different ways, and how we can be constantly trying to change, constantly trying to improve, and like that becomes our entire life, is just this constant focus on a future self. And the book really brings into perspective how accepting where you're at right now, accepting the feelings that you have right now, is the best jumping off point. And by working on those, like working on feeling your feelings and focusing on accepting yourself where you're at, that's actually like the best place to start growing. So that's the first book that really changed my life this year. And then the second book was Emotion Code. And this one's a little bit more on the woo-woo side. So you can definitely skip over this part if you're not interested in anything like energy work or like, I guess, just woo-woo in general. So Emotion Code goes through and talks about how when different events happen in our lives, emotions can get stored in our bodies and cause different health concerns or behaviors. And it talks about how this kind of happens. And then there's also a lot mixed in, a lot of like success stories and everything like that. And then it actually goes through and teaches you how you can do emotion code on yourself. And it goes through like muscle testing and how you can like get in touch with your like higher self or subconscious or whoever you like believe in, and that you can be kind of guided to finding the emotions that are trapped in your body and clear those emotions. And this seriously made such a big difference in my life. It was really intimidating to do at first, but after working on this energy work, I feel like I just completely transformed. I even had people like commenting like, oh my gosh, like you look so happy, you look glowing and everything like that. And then on top of that, I had some really big like health issues just totally resolved themselves after working on Emotion Code. Like, I was able to start running because I healed my knee problems through Emotion Code, and just, it was really awesome. And I'll have to do maybe a second deep dive on it, but those were definitely the 2 books that I absolutely loved reading this year that made a big difference for me. Okay, so the next thing that I started doing was I started a practice of my not to-do list, or like my to not do list. I don't know how to say that. But basically, I got this idea from, or I guess it sprung into my mind, came to me. I don't know how else to say that. I did see a therapist for a little while this year, and he had kind of just expressed how I tend to put a lot of pressure on myself and like be a perfectionist and everything like that. And I just kept really feeling like I wasn't living up to everything I felt like I should be doing. And he had kind of said something along the lines of like, why do you expect so much of yourself? And this really sparked this idea for me to start listing out all the ways that I'm putting pressure on myself, or all the things that I feel like I should be doing. And I did this practice a few times this year where I'd write down this huge list of things that I felt like I really needed to do. And it was everything from like, oh, I feel like I need to be keeping track of my grams of protein, or I feel like I need to be getting 90 minutes outside every day, or I need to be doing a dedicated special activity with my kids every single week, or just like everything that I feel like we just have so much pressure to do. And after making the list, I went through and I just started crossing things off. And basically what that meant was that like when I started to feel pressure to do these things, I would tell myself like, I'm not allowed to feel pressure about this anymore. And that was kind of the practice that I had to go through. And I think that's the most practical advice I can give on how to not let that pressure creep up, is just basically like, once you've decided what you're not worrying about anymore, like one of mine, I gave an example, was like grams of protein a day. Like I decided I'm not going to worry about that anymore. Like I decided, I came up with a couple of breakfast ideas that I knew would hit. I think that they say something like 30 grams of protein for women in the morning is really important. And so I made a couple of breakfasts where I know I hit that 30 grams of protein without thinking about it. That's great. And then I try to, eat protein throughout the day, but like I had to let go of thinking that I wasn't eating enough protein and like constantly trying to eat more protein, because it was not benefiting me at all to be focusing on that. And so by deciding things that I'm not going to do, I was able to free up so much space in my mind, kind of tying back to that focus, and just really start focusing on things that actually mattered to me. So instead of trying to plan something special to do with my kids every single week, it was like, oh, I'm just going to try to do something every single month. Like that's so much more attainable, so much more sustainable. And that just like really made a difference. And I really only did it a few times. Like if things start getting really, really overwhelming, I'm like, okay, I need like a not to do list, because I need to let go of a bunch of stuff. So I probably ended up doing this like 4 or 5 times through the year, but it's just a practice that I started implementing when I start to get really overwhelmed. And part of that too that I just wanted to mention is I did end up deleting social media off my phone. I still have it on my iPad. Like I still get on social media, but I'm just somebody where when I hear somebody suggest to do something, I'm instantly like, oh, I should do that. Like I'm very easily convinced to do things. So then I just start storing things in my mind that are like very random and sporadic. And then when I find myself sitting and scrolling on social media, it's like my brain just starts gathering all of these things that I should be doing, and I can't let them go. And so I think by limiting my exposure to social media, I was able to have less of that influence in my life, so I could really decide what I wanted to do and decide what's important to me versus having everybody else tell me what's important. You know what I mean? Okay, next thing that I did, let's see here. Oh, I started prioritizing sleep and hydration over everything else. So like there's a million different pieces of health advice out there. I totally get it. So much pressure all the time. Like I even try to eat healthy, like I promote healthy eating and wellness and all of that stuff, but it's just, you really can't do everything. And so I started just prioritizing my sleep and my hydration above everything, because I truly felt like that made the biggest difference in my life. That is another thing with this like focus, kind of theme of focus and theme of letting things go, is it's just like we have everybody telling us a million things to do, but when we have so much that we feel like we should do, it's really hard to tell what actually makes a difference for you specifically. And when I'm talking to myself, what makes a difference for me specifically? Is it eating 150 grams of protein a day? No. Like that just, first of all, I can't even wrap my head around that most days. My brain just like can't do it. But then also when I do eat that amount, I just don't feel that much different. But for me, like if I'm dehydrated, my brain is foggy, I feel sick, my bones hurt, I have no energy. Like hydration is super, super important to me. And so I really put that at the forefront of like, this is my top priority health goal. It's just like drink the water, right? Then with the sleeping, this turned into making sure that I'm like going to bed at a decent hour, obviously. But then that also turned into, I love waking up early. That's super great. And I love getting things done in the morning, but I was able to kind of find some leeway and some softness with that, where sometimes for no reason that we can really see, like you just didn't get a good night's sleep. Sometimes I just didn't get a good night's sleep and my alarm will go off and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I cannot get up. My brain is so tired. My body's so tired. Like I can't do this. And while there are days that I'd have to say, no, I can do this, and I, woke up, I started to find that balance where I was able to kind of listen to my body and just be like, okay, like, no, I'm actually really, really tired. And either I'm going to get up now and be dragging the entire day, or I need to sleep for 45 more minutes, And so prioritizing those things and learning to listen to my body when my body does need more sleep, and deprioritizing this idea in my mind that like I have to get up super, super early. By letting that go a little bit, I'm like, okay, sometimes I just need more sleep and that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with me, right? Nothing's wrong with you if you need some more sleep. You do not have to wake up at 5 a.m. if you're dysfunctional the rest of the day. Like, that blanket advice to wake up early doesn't always apply, right? Not even that it doesn't apply to you, not even that it doesn't apply to me, but it just like, maybe it doesn't apply every single day. It's not always black and white. You know what I mean? So by prioritizing those things and just like putting that focus on there and learning to create habits that actually make a difference for me, I think that just made a really big difference. So okay, let's see. I think the last one that I'm going to mention for today was that I got a TV in my room. I had really resisted the idea. Both me and my husband actually had resisted the idea for quite some time to have a TV in our room. We just kind of, I put this last because we also just did it like around like Black Friday time, a little bit before that. I don't know. It doesn't make a difference. But we finally decided, let's just get a TV in our room. And I just love it so much. I don't know what I had in my mind that made me think that like, oh, if I have a TV in my room, I must be so lazy, or like laying in bed at night and watching TV, that's just lazy. And that's going to lead to basically just laziness. I don't even know what else I thought. I thought I really wasn't going to be able to sleep well. I thought it was really going to affect my sleep and everything like that. And kind of going back on what I said before, this blanket advice of what makes you sleep and what doesn't, like it's totally experimental. And so that's how I was able to accept getting a TV in my room. But then after having it in my room for like 6 weeks now, I just love it so much. I love being able to get ready for bed early and then just get cozy under my blanket and watch a show. I even love like being able to have like a different TV space than my kids, so that if if one of my kids wants to be watching something I really don't want to watch, I actually have the freedom to go watch something else if we're all kind of in relax mode. And yeah, I really like having a TV in my room. So that's another way that my 2024 glow up happened, I guess. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to this. I actually am going to make a different video because I also feel like my beauty routine, etc., improved in 2024. So I kind of wanted to make like a separate video just about like an actual physical glow up that I had in 2024. But I didn't want to keep it in this video just because, I don't know, I just feel like it's going to get too long. Do you care? I don't think you really care, but I'm explaining it to you anyway. So stay tuned for that. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope that we can all have a great 2025. I hope that some of these concepts can improve your 2025. Let me know if you've had any similar experiences. I guess last thing that I'll say is I am Nicole and I'm a working mom, and I'm just posting videos about all things like mindset and life, and I don't really know. I guess we're still just figuring it out. I'm a work in progress, but I really am happy that you watched this, and I'm rambling at this point. So I'll see you next time. Bye.